replay the same worries on loop, second-guess every decision, and overthink conversations that happened years ago, even after telling yourself 100 times to just stop. What if you could finally step outside your own head, not by trying harder, but by understanding exactly why your mind keeps you trapped in the first place? In this video, I'll share 6 neuroscience-backed reasons why most people never escape their own mind, and the precise mental moves that will finally set you free. I discovered this when I realized I had spent 3 years replaying one painful conversation on a near-daily basis. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't broken. I just didn't understand how the trapped mind actually works. Here's the thing. Research in cognitive neuroscience shows the average person has over 6,000 thoughts per day, and for most people, more than 80% of those are repetitive and negative. The problem is, most people try to escape their mind using willpower alone, and that's the exact mistake that tightens the trap. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's keeping you locked inside your own head and how to walk right through that door. Let's dive in. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The human brain isn't designed to think less. It's designed to repeat, and once it finds a groove, it will run that groove into the ground. This is called rumination, the mental habit of replaying the same thoughts, problems, and regrets on an endless loop. It feels like thinking, but it's actually your brain stuck in a deep neural groove, firing the same circuit over and over again, convincing you that reviewing a problem one more time will finally solve it. A landmark study from Yale University found that rumination is the single strongest predictor of depression and anxiety, more than life events themselves. This works against you, because every time you revisit a painful thought, your brain strengthens that neural pathway. You're not processing the pain, you're practicing it. Your brain literally becomes better at feeling bad. The thought loop isn't helping you solve anything. It's just keeping you busy enough to feel like you are. The fix here is called thought scheduling. When a looping thought appears, don't fight it. Instead, say out loud, "I see you. We'll deal with you at 7 p.m. Then actually schedule 15 minutes each day as your official worry time. Set a timer. During that window, write the thought down fully. Then ask yourself, is there one action I can take right now? If yes, take it. If no, close the journal and move on. For instance, instead of replaying an awkward email all morning, schedule your worry about it for 6 p.m. and watch how it loses power throughout the day. But the thought loop is just the surface. The deeper trap is something far more sinister, and most people never even realize it's happening. This next one is absolutely crucial, and I wish someone had told me this 10 years ago. Most people don't just have negative thoughts. They become them. They stop saying I'm feeling anxious and start saying I'm an anxious person. They stop saying I had a bad day and start saying I am a failure. This is called cognitive fusion, and it's the mental trap where you merge your identity with your thoughts, treating every thought as a fact about who you are. Researchers at Harvard studying acceptance and commitment therapy found that cognitive fusion dramatically reduces psychological flexibility, your ability to adapt, grow, and respond instead of react. This happens because your brain interprets identity-level beliefs as survival threats. Challenging the thought, "I'm a failure," feels like an attack on your existence, not just your idea. So your mind defends these labels, even when they're destroying you. Think of it like being handcuffed to a heavy suitcase and refusing to let go because you've convinced yourself the suitcase is your hand. The technique here is called diffusion, and it's beautifully simple. Every time a painful self-label appears, add the phrase, "I'm having the thought that," instead of "I'm a failure," say "I'm having the thought that I'm a failure." This one small shift creates distance. Then give your inner critic a silly name. Seriously. Name it Gerald or the Doom Committee. When it speaks, say, "Thanks, Gerald." Then ask, is this thought a fact or is this just a story my mind is telling me right now? For instance, instead of "I'm not smart enough," try, "My mind is offering me the story that I'm not smart enough today." You'll feel the difference immediately. Now, let's talk about something even more powerful. The reason your mind keeps choosing the cage, even when the door is wide open, most people don't know this, but your brain doesn't actually prefer happiness. It prefers familiarity, even when familiar means miserable. This is the comfort zone illusion, the psychological phenomenon where your nervous system creates a preference for known suffering over unknown possibility. It's why you stay in jobs you hate, relationships that drain you, and mental habits that damage you. Not because you want to, but because your brain has mapped that suffering as safe territory. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that the brain releases the same stress chemicals in response to imagined unfamiliarity as it does to real physical danger. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between trying something new and being chased by a lion. So it fires an alarm, and most people hear that alarm and think, "See, this is dangerous. I should stay." But you've already watched this far, so let me tell you the truth. That alarm isn't a warning. It's just a noise, and you can walk past it. Use what psychologists call micro-expansion. First, identify one familiar suffering you return to daily, a thought pattern, an avoidance behavior, a default reaction. Second, shrink the unfamiliar alternative down to the smallest possible version. Not "I'll change my whole mindset." Instead, "I'll do one thing differently for 60 seconds today." Third, do it before your brain has time to object. Don't think, just move. The most common mistake people make here is waiting until they feel ready. Readiness is a myth your comfort zone invented. You don't find courage before the action. You find it because of the action. But that's not all. Because even when you're ready to step forward, there's a voice that will try to stop you, and it's the loudest voice in the room. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and a little bit unsettling. Your inner critic is the relentless internal voice that narrates your failures, mocks your ambitions, and reminds you of every embarrassing thing you've done since the 3rd grade. It shows up most powerfully when you're on the edge of growth, right when you're about to try something new, speak up, or take a risk. And here's the sinister part. It sounds exactly like you. Research from the University of Texas found that self-critical inner voices activate the same threat response centers in the brain as external social threats, meaning your own thoughts can trigger the same fear response as someone actually attacking you in public. This works because the inner critic was originally designed as a survival tool. It criticized you before others could, so you could fix yourself and remain accepted by the tribe. But in modern life, it's a smoke detector going off every time you make toast. And here's what's fascinating. The inner critic gets loudest right before a breakthrough, which means the noise itself is actually a signal that you're close. Try the compassionate witness technique. When your inner critic speaks, don't argue with it. Arguing amplifies it. Instead, respond with curiosity. "That's interesting. Why do you believe that?" Then ask, "Would I say this to someone I love?" If the answer is no, rewrite the statement in the way you would speak to a close friend. Then remind yourself, "This voice is trying to protect me. It's just using the wrong strategy." Thank it, then consciously choose a different narrative. For instance, instead of, "You're going to fail at this," rewrite it to, "This feels uncertain, and I'm going to try anyway." I'll show you how all of this builds together in a moment. But first, there's a trap that pulls millions of people backward every single day, and it starts the moment you open your phone. This one is crucial, especially if you've ever lain awake at 2 a.m. running through every possible way something could go wrong. This is called catastrophic projection, your mind's tendency to fast forward into the future and assume the worst possible outcome is the most likely outcome. It's mental time travel to the darkest possible timeline. And the trap isn't that you're worrying, it's that your brain processes imagined catastrophes with real emotional intensity. You feel the fear of something that hasn't happened and may never happen. A landmark study from Penn State University found that 91% of things people catastrophize about never actually occur, and for the 9% that do, people handle them significantly better than they predicted. Your brain's catastrophe machine was built for a world where danger was real and immediate. A predator in the bushes, a food shortage, a rival tribe. But now you're using that ancient hardware to simulate quarterly performance reviews and awkward text messages. There's a scientific reason for this. The amygdala can't distinguish between a real threat and a vividly imagined one, and the more you entertain the catastrophe, the more your brain believes it's imminent. Use the probability audit. First, write down the catastrophic thought in full. Don't fight it, just document it. Second, honestly rate the actual probability it occurs, from 1 to 100%. Most people discover the numbers far lower than it feels. Third, write down your most likely realistic outcome, and then your best possible outcome. Force your brain to consider all three timelines, not just the worst one. Fourth, ask, if the worst did happen, what is one thing I could do? This activates your prefrontal cortex, your problem-solving brain, and immediately dials down the panic response. Now let's talk about something even more powerful. The external trap that most people walk straight into without even realizing they're doing it. But wait, there's more to this, because even if you master everything we've covered, there's one trap that'll pull you right back if you're not careful. Comparison quicksand is the mental trap of measuring your internal reality, your doubts, fears, and unfinished self against someone else's external highlight reel. It's not just social media, it's comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 30. Your Monday morning to their Saturday afternoon, your real life to someone's carefully curated performance of a life. And the more you sink into it, the harder it becomes to see your own progress. Social psychologist Leon Festinger's social comparison theory shows that humans are hardwired to evaluate themselves by comparing to others. It's an ancient social calibration tool, but research from the University of Michigan found that every 10-minute increase in passive social media scrolling increases feelings of inadequacy by 37%. Here's the psychology. Your brain treats comparison as data. Every time you compare and feel less than, it updates its internal model of you downward. You literally reprogram your self-concept in real time. Every single scroll. The antidote is vertical comparison. Comparing yourself only to your past self. At the end of each week, ask, what did I do this week that past me couldn't do? Even tiny answers count. Then curate your inputs deliberately. Unfollow accounts that consistently trigger inadequacy. Follow accounts that inspire without deflating. And practice what researcher Brené Brown calls comparative gratitude. When comparison strikes, immediately list 3 things in your own life that are genuinely going well. This isn't toxic positivity. It's a deliberate redirect of cognitive bandwidth. For instance, instead of scrolling someone's success and spiraling, open your notes app and write, here's what I've built so far. And this brings us to the final secret, the one that ties everything together, because all 6 of these traps have one thing in common, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. Now, here's where it gets genuinely fascinating, and this one single idea can change everything. Every trap we've discussed, the loops, the identity prison, the catastrophizing, the comparison, they all share one invisible assumption, that you are the thoughts. But neuroscience and ancient contemplative traditions agree on one radical insight. You are the one who observes the thoughts. This is called meta-awareness, the ability to step back from your mental content and be me the watcher instead of the watched. You're not the storm. You're the sky the storm moves through. You're the sky the storm moves through. Dan Siegel at UCLA has shown that the act of simply naming and observing a thought or emotion reduces its neurological intensity by up to 50%. This happens because labeling activates the prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, which directly dials down the amygdala's fear response. In Buddhist psychology, this is called noting practice. And it's been empirically validated by modern neuroscience. The moment you say, I notice I'm having an anxious thought, instead of I am anxious, you are literally changing the architecture of your brain's response. You haven't eliminated the thought, but you've stopped being it. Practice the observer protocol. 3 steps, anytime, anywhere. When a difficult thought or emotion arises, pause for 1 breath, just 1, then silently label what you observe. There is fear, there is self-doubt, there is the catastrophe machine. Use third-person language. It creates critical distance. Then ask yourself, what would I do right now if I chose to act from my values instead of this feeling? Then do that. You don't need to eliminate the thought. You just need to stop letting it drive. And the most common mistake people make here is trying to think their way out of their mind. Don't think, just notice. The noticing itself is the freedom. Let's quickly review what we covered today. Number 1, the thought loop trap. Schedule your worries, don't battle them. Number 2, the identity prison. You are not your thoughts. You observe them. Number 3, the comfort zone illusion. Familiar suffering is not safety. It's a habit. Number 4, the inner critic takeover. The loudest critic is the least credible. Thank it and choose again. Number 5, the future catastrophe machine. 91% of what you fear never arrives. Ow, did the probability. Number 6, comparison quicksand. The only race worth running is with your past self. Number 7, the watcher you never used. Step back, label and reclaim the observer. Remember, your mind isn't your enemy. It's just a tool that was never given an instruction manual. You now have one. You have everything you need to stop surviving your own thoughts and start directing them. The only difference between being trapped in your mind and being free of it is knowing what you're looking at when a thought appears. Don't wait until the next spiral pulls you under. Start with just 1 breath and 1 label the next time a heavy thought arrives. I promise you, 30 days from now, you will feel a shift so clear, you'll wonder how you ever lived without this. If this video helped you see your own mind a little more clearly, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this reach people who need it. Subscribe for more neuroscience-backed self-improvement content just like this every week. And drop a comment telling me, which of these 7 traps do you recognize most in yourself? I read every single one. And if you want to go deeper on breaking free from anxiety and overthinking, watch this video next. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.